Welcome back, folks, to episode 6 of Bag Surgery. Today we have a brand new set of 724 Bagger Company Anarchy X bags. Hashtag more than bags. These were sent to us from Jared, who runs 724 Bagger Company. He is the owner, operator of said company. Reached out to us, believe it or not. Send us a set of bags. And of course, we send these back. We don't keep them. We're not in this to keep bags. He's going to go right back to him. Maybe he'll auction them off or give them away. I don't know. But these are the Anarchy X bags. I think it's his latest line. And right off the bat, I'll call this a 4-speed, and this is an 8.5 speed. Single stitch on the closure. Feels good. I like doing this to see how far my finger goes. And this is a little bit crunchier fill. Off camera, I was kind of giving it the pinch here. And I do believe it's a mixed fill. I feel some flat stuff. And there's some sharp edges I'm feeling in there. And well, we're going to take it apart, of course. Let's get a little closer look and see what we got. See what we're working here with. See what we're working with here. We got the single closing stitch, pretty wide. That's going from there to there. It's got a nice back tack. It's a gray thread. It's the same kind of color thread we had in the last video with the cornhole scenarios. You'll recognize this fabric, this lovely, nice, soft, pretty decently sublimated fabric. What he did get really well was the color matching. Very good. I like the teal and the pink. Those two colors go together. If you're ever unsure what colors do and don't go together, you can just go on Google. Say, look, give me a complementary color of said color, and it'll give you whole color palettes that you can use. The design's pretty cool. There's a few elements going on here. We got the logo accented with the pink and the teal. It's a nice kind of gunmetal color here. Bright pink. Not neon, just bright. I don't know what kind of printer he's using, but it does look pretty good. It's got plenty of ink, because this fabric's particularly difficult to sublimate if you don't have something laying down a lot of ink. And a lot of heat, a lot of pressure on the heat press, and I don't see any fading. Looks very good. There's no like white spots in between the fabric valleys. My favorite part of the design is this right here. I love depth in designs, and by depth I mean you got that gunmetal color, the X, and there's a drop shadow right here around it that kind of gives it that inset look. I really like that. I really like that. Up here on the text, this is a font with squares, but this is an image. So he mixed an image with a font. Did an outline on this and an outline on the whole thing. You got the splatter pattern with the dots with an outline. On the back, no outlines, just a splatter pattern, teal and black. And then the text is a little different. We got a light drop shadow here on the font, and then the image got a block shadow going the other way. Still looks good. It all blends. Like there's a good separation between the text and the rest of nothing's really getting meshed together. Looks good. I like it. More than bags. I would have liked to have seen a black border around the pink. Actually, it's kind of hard to read just because the letters are close together. The way I'm looking at it right now with my eyes, it might not be so bad on camera, but I'd like to see a little black in there. Maybe a shadow behind the pink to go onto the outline. Just spitballing here, but there is a drop shadow behind the teal. Okay, let's get some initial measurements here. I'm going to start with the closing stitch, and we're looking at 3 inches overall bag width. I'm going to lay it on top here. I'm looking at, wow, okay, 5.5 inches. Make sure I'm right on the edge. Yes. Pat it down 5 1/8 3/4, 5 3/4, folks. 5 3/4 wide. Thickness probably 1 1/4 inches. They're a little fuller than most bags. Well, not most, but that's why I think it's a multiple pellet fill because of the thickness. And they feel like those crunchy pellets that were in the BG Vikings. They probably break in really nice too. Close look at this closing stitch. Pretty short stitch length. Now I'm gonna guess right away that that is polyester thread just because it looks exactly like the stuff that was on the Cornhole scenario bags that we just did. We're doing some double filming today. Let's see here. Stitch length. It's gonna be a tough one. I think I'm blocking the light. These are 1/2 millimeter marks, so let's see. I want to make sure we're on focus. Oh, this is tough to count. Why am I doing this? 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 millimeter stitch length on the closing stitch. Plenty of back tacks, even though they're off a little bit. Doesn't really matter, that's not coming out. And the other side looks just as good. The sublimation, like I said earlier, very good, very, very good. Nice job. There's no, like, where are we with A? There's no, like, sublimations that aren't good, don't have enough ink on the paper, or not enough heat or pressure, or both. They'll have little white valleys where the fabric is deepest on this particular fabric. The drop shadow looks really good. You know you got a pretty good printer where you can get a gradient like that. Let's take a look at the back side. This is that 4-speed fabric, so light and fluffy. Still very strong. Yeah, now that I'm looking at it under the close-up lens, that little black dot in the middle of the R, don't like it. Yeah, well, there's a little teal in here. This is the bottom of the bag. Interesting. Yeah, you kind of see it over here too. A little bit pink, I mean, not teal. I wonder if that's just an artifact on the design or what. I don't know. If it was supposed to be gone. Couldn't tell you. Maybe Jared can chime in. I'm going to tear open this bag now. Get a little fast motion going. There's a lot of stitches here, so it might take me a minute. Alright, there we go. And I took a quick peek already and I was right. It is a mixed fill. Not much of a mix, but it's a mixed fill. Let's get it in a bowl. We got a single stitch. I see a drawn line, as expected, done by hand. So you drew with a pen, definitely with a pen. Yeah, oops, I grabbed a couple, that's the thread, okay, good. Thought I tore the fabric up a little bit. Oh, that's, I did not get all the stitches out, and I did it on purpose. I'll fix that off camera. Ah, this fabric is so cool. I think this is the show side. I mean, he did it on the reverse side. It's actually really hard to tell. This side's got more, it's got a lot of sheen on it. I love this fabric. This is that very common fast side. I'm not surprised it's so common because it works so darn good. initial look at the fill. The white ones are the exact same pellet that I use, and he's got this little HD or LDPE pellets in there for volume fill. Give it a little more poof. And of course, we're going to get a close-up look right now. Here we can see these little white guys, it's resin. Exact same pellet I use. I think it's the exact same pellet that was in the Cat 2s that we just did. But on those, with 2 years of wear, the edges have rounded off and there's a lot of dust. Because the dust, now I'm talking about a different bag, but the dust in the other one looked a lot like the dust that sits on the edges of my bag filler machine that's worn off. Now this little guy is a different pellet. It's a lighter, lower density pellet. It's more translucent. You can see through it more. I'm kind of, if you're looking at it from a wider shot like we did earlier, you could easily tell it apart. This is just for volume. It doesn't weigh as much. It probably weighs a little more than half as much as these white guys. So it gives you a little fuller feeling bag. Those little fellas. And it probably helps with like hole friendliness. These white ones, unless they're super broken like them scenarios, they tend to kind of bunch a little bit, but it makes it easier to hold, which is nice. I like that. And these feel easy to hold too. You still get the great holding ability in your hand with the white pellets, and you don't really lose it too much with these little see-through ones. And I know that's going to help you get in a hole a lot better. Overall fill ratio looks to be like a 5-to-1, maybe a 4-to-1. I don't think it's equal amounts. I think they're okay. There might be 20% more of these white flat pellets than there are of these. We're going to take a quick measurement here if we can see the ruler. It's our first time trying this. These are 0.5 millimeter marks. Let's try you. On 3 millimeters. Taking a look at our overall bag size template. What I saw right away with that 3-inch closing seam was it fully overlapped the opening by 1/2 inch on each side. So I would expect to see a 2-inch opening, and it's just under 2 inches. Very good. The width, I would say just a hair over 6 1/4. Nope. Yeah, just a hair over 6 1/4, like a little bit. And with these being so new and not like stretched out, we get good measurements. So let's go right here. That's a little more. It's like 1/16 more than the width. Make sure it's nice and flat. Yeah, that's 6 1/4, and this is about 6 1/4 plus 1/16. I don't want to do fractional math right now. He used a pen to draw the line. Whee! With the template. Where's my? What that entails is slapping the template on there and taking her to town. These corners looking like a 1.4 inch round or 1.5 inch. Alright, let's get a close up on these stitches themselves, the single stitch. Well, here we go. If he's anything like me, he's starting the stitch at the top right. And boy, oh boy, are these short stitch lengths. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the back tack. And like down, back, and back again. There's 3 stitches there because the tail is right here. So we had to go down, back, and then back again. Coming around, following that pen line. And he likes to sew directly on the line. That is right on the line. This being the top side. We're seeing some tension once again. Not saying mine's perfect, but I got mine pretty freaking close to perfect. These are so short on the stitch length. We gotta get the ruler out. Inquiring minds got to know. Remember, each one of these is 1/2 millimeter. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 millimeter stitch length, and that's what we said on the closing stitch. It just looks way smaller than 2 millimeters. Let's measure it with the middle part where each mark is an actual millimeter. Yep, 2 millimeters. The thread is pretty small, probably a 40 size thread, maybe a 69, maybe, probably a 40. With a smaller needle. There's not a big needle punch hole. This is the end. And he went, I mean, it might be on a bigger machine, who knows, but these are pretty consistent down, back, and down thread tail. There are no thread tails. So what is he sewing this on? I mean, unless he did this by hand and cut it, like snipped it with scissors. There's no thread tails. And boy, does that thread blend in with the fabric. Yeah, maybe he's snipping these by hand, but I don't know of a machine that cuts that short of a thread tail with a thread cutter. Good on you, Jerry. Good on you. That's good attention to detail. Once again, the old single stitch versus double stitch debate. Seam, I should say. Just checking out this nice pretty fabric. Looking very close. Let's get a close up on that overlap. The closing seam is here, goes all the way over. So the amount of stitches that he's doing on his back tack is the same amount of stitches that overlaps. That's pretty cool. That's very good detail. Very good job. I record all these videos or these clips in order, so that's how you're going to get them. What I forgot to do was measure the width of the fabric square. It looks like it's a 7 something, 7.5. That's about what I do. 7.5-ish. If we look here, if I could just work my hands a little bit, let me get close up. See that? All right, sublimate with a little bit of edge. So this fabric's cut beforehand in the squares. Sublimated, sewn together, and then it's looking like a scissor is going chick, 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 chick around the corners. Chick, chick, get a nice round. And then he's going to flip it on this 2-inch opening, which is, you know, not the biggest. Makes it a little difficult to flip. But this fabric is so soft. It's hole friendly on the boards and it's hand friendly on the flip. Albeit still a 2-inch hole. I used to do that size, but I have since changed it to about a 2.5 to accommodate the bag filler, and just made it so much easier to flip. It feels like it's centered. I'm sure it is. He's been pretty precise with these things. Well, I went ahead and filled it back up and closed it up. Tried to make it about the same length as it was. I use black thread. I'm not going to change my thread out. So now you know which bag was open if you end up with these bags. Overall, very well made. You know me, I like the double stitch, especially with this fabric because it frays so easily. I think the double stitch helps the fraying stop from the inside. You saw in the last set of bags just how frayed the inside was, and it just keeps going and going. So it can eat itself from both ends. It could pull here, it could pull from the inside. It just depends. Eventually the bags wear out. That's how it is. They're not going to last forever. You can make them last a lot longer with the double stitch. Again, it's up to the manufacturer. It's their choice. I do two, they do one. Doesn't really matter as long as you're winning. A little bit about the More Than Bags hashtag. From what I understand, Jared and 724 has made a support group. It seems like there's a bunch of people that support each other, and they raise money to help support each other through their hard times that they may have unexpectedly, which is great. That's how you, when I say like support your local bagger, that's what I mean. Support your local bagger because they're going to support you right back. The only people that are really in this for the money is all Cornhole. They can go shove it up there, you know what? Straight up. They can shove it up their Cornhole. Don't give them your money. This is who you want to do. Send it over to Jared because it's going to go help a worthy cause. These fabrics, this bag itself, same fabrics as the Typhoon. The Reynolds Typhoon, same as the Deadhead, I believe. I've only held one Deadhead, but I can tell from the pictures. Deadhead uses the backside of this fabric, which I hate. And they both use the same 4-speed square fabric. The Surefire Lucky Bags Surefire is the same as this. And so are these. Look at that, another Shinerbach logo. I tend to print this out just to make test bags. I like the color. They always end up looking good. And I don't know. This is the same fabrics. These are broken a little more. They were played on the worst possible surface you could play cornhole on. I got a pole here. This is on like throw 1. Another pole. My partner's throwing it in the dirt and the rocks. So that's something you got to be careful with, this kind of fabric. These don't have filler, and they fill way loose. Like, you can tell that with the extra filler, those kind of see-through beads, these are pretty good. I can't touch the table yet, but I know after breaking, my finger will touch. But these ones, yeah, I'm on the table. Barely, but I'm on the table. Okay, that's all I got to say about these bags. Support Jared. They're kind of hard to get, okay, from what I understand as well. I've never participated in the giveaway, not the giveaway, but the number selection. He's going to post on Facebook. This is the only way you can buy them as far as I can tell, unless you get them secondhand. He posts on Facebook. You have within 15 minutes or X amount of likes, like 1,000 likes, whatever's hit first, post shuts down. He does a random number draw, like say your post number or like number 128, and that's your number. They draw 128. He's going to choose the next 15 numbers, 129, 130, 131, all the way up to 143. If you're doing 15, so you get, there's 15 sets available, and it's like, it seems like a game almost, like what's that movie? Saw. You have 15 minutes to respond and answer and pay for these bags. You want to play a game? That's how you buy them. And if you don't buy them in time, you lose your spot. It goes to somebody else. I think he does another random draw or just goes to the next up. Anyways, cool bags. I can see why people like these. Nice and bright. They're not stamped. Who cares? You're not an ACL pro, so just get bags. Get the bags you like, not the ones with this little silly little stamp. Unless you're like on TV or winning regionals or whatever. Just play with whatever you like. I know if I broke these in and play with them for a few days, I would like them. Because I like these. They're just a little thin. I think these are definitely a better bag with an extra fill. Good stuff. Okay, now I'm starting to ramble, so let's close the video out. 2 thumbs up on these bags. Check them out.